right. Well, we're going to go ahead and kick this thing off as other clients are joining here. Again, welcome aboard. So this is a very, very popular topic right now. Uh, the reason why it's so popular is obviously it's going to have a huge impact on how you, the Microsoft customer, will look at licensing in 2022. The other reason, unfortunately, why it's so popular is that there does appear to be a lot of confusion around it. So what we've done and what we've been focusing on the past several weeks here is taking the Microsoft messaging around this, the language around this, and trying to simplify it as much as possible and to try and get that information over to you so that you understand what's upcoming, what you can do from a promotions perspective, which is set to come out in January, February of next year, so that you can sort of navigate this in 2022. Obviously, MicroAge, we're here to help you with this, and we've had a lot of conversations with clients around this already, and we're happy to continue to do so as we go into 2022. But here's a quick agenda. We are quickly one more time going to talk about the open license program retirement, right? That is set in, I don't know how many days we have left, Lane, 21 days before the open license program is officially retired. We'll talk about that very briefly. Then we're going to actually talk about the things that are happening in 2022, namely the Microsoft price increase and the new commerce experience. And I think there's some confusion around this right now because they both involve pricing, but they are two totally different things that we need to kind of wrap our minds around and get some understanding around. And then we've got a client, ABC Co, right? This made up client. I didn't want to use the Contoso name today because we use Contoso for everything. So we're going to do ABC Co today, and we're going to talk about some licensing scenarios, right, for how a customer can consider looking at these pricing program changes coming in 2022. If there's time, we're going to talk about some Microsoft Teams updates, especially the Teams Essentials license. And there's also some Defender updates as well that was recently announced at Ignite that's coming up for 2022. Just know that all of this info can be found on microage.com under resources, blogs, and news, right? We've got some blogs there. We've got some videos that we've posted. We're constantly going to be updating that information as we go along here, assuming Microsoft makes changes, which you're right, of course, right? They're probably going to announce some changes as we roll into the next quarter here, but we'll keep tabs on it for you. So quickly, we'll talk about the open license program retirement, but there's already some questions coming in around it. But the open license program is like the oldest license program out there, volume license program out there that was offered by Microsoft. It's set to be discontinued on December 31st of 2021, which is the end of this month, right? So if you have software assurance, right, once expired, it can't be renewed under the open license program after 12/31, right? So if you've got SA, you can continue to use it, but once that SA expires, if it was SA that you purchased under the open license program, can't be renewed. You'll have to consider some options here. So for Microsoft open license customers today, right, the options that you can consider right now are obviously the perpetual CSP program. And this is basically a transactional license that you can purchase under CSP, right, perpetually. So you're going to buy the license outright. You're not going to make monthly payments on it or anything like that. You can buy it outright, or you can buy it via annual subscription or 3-year subscription, right? Kind of a different conversation that we can have. We're not going to do too much of a deep dive around that. Just know that when it comes to open license program, this is the transition option that you can continue to buy licenses perpetually. It's just going to be under CSP, which means the license download and key will be visible in the admin center, not the VLSC anymore, right? The Office 365 admin center is where you go to find this information after the license is provisioned. You can also go to CSP for cloud services. So if you've got products, right, that aren't like Windows Data Center and stuff like that, but like Office or Office Pro Plus. I mean, if you're considering getting out of Office Pro Plus and finally going to Office 365, obviously CSP for cloud services is where you go. And to answer the last question, I think this has been popping up there. If you have software assurance under open license, you can renew it under an open value agreement. Okay, so you're not going to be stuck there holding the bag after the SA renews. You'll just have to purchase it under the open value agreement. And we'll get into what CSP actually is here in just a few minutes. We're going to dedicate one slide to that to sort of set the table as we go on. And remember, guys, if you have software assurance, you can leverage the Azure Hybrid benefits. So software assurance is valuable, right? In that if you do provision resources in Azure under an Azure subscription, you can use that software assurance for pretty heavily discounted licensing that you provision with those resources, right? And again, separate conversation that we can dive into more deeply if you engage myself or Jason or anyone else on our cloud services pre-sales team. So just a note, open license program is set to retire at the end of this month. We are aware of it. We know what's going on, and we can obviously help you sort of navigate your options going into 2022 around how you can continue to purchase licenses transactionally. Okay, so again, we mentioned that we were going to simplify this thing for you, right? There's two big things that are happening in 2022 as it relates to Microsoft. One is a price increase, okay? And I'll dive into that in just a second. The second thing is what we've been hearing about called the new commerce experience, or NCE, for seat-based licensing. Now, the reason why I'm saying seat-based licensing is that the new commerce experience has actually been around for a little while. It has been around as it relates to Azure subscriptions. So if you're an Azure customer, you get an Azure subscription out there, chances are you are being billed under the new commerce experience for your Azure subscription, right? I don't want to get into the details of it. Just know that NCE has been around for a little while. Now it's just being transitioned into seat-based licensing. So things like Office 365, Dynamics 365, your Power products, right? Anything modern workplace, as as it relates to your users, right? This is where the new commerce experience is going to come into play. So two things happening in 2022, a price increase, which we're about to talk about, and the new commerce experience, which we're going to cover in just a few minutes. Okay, so here is the Microsoft price increase, and this has been out for a couple of months, and we've been talking about it. But there are 6 core products that are being impacted by this price increase. Not everything in the world of Microsoft, just 6 core products for this price increase, okay? They are Business Basic, Business Premium, Office 365, E1, E3, and E5, and Microsoft 365 E3. So there's only 6 plans that are being impacted by the price increase that we're talking about here. And just some items to note there. That's what your new pricing is going to look like. And the price increase effective date is March 1st of 2022. Now, does that mean everybody that's attending this meeting right now is going to experience a price increase if they own these licenses on March 1st of 2022? The answer is no, not necessarily, okay? There are some things to consider, right, before that happens. So let's put a pin in that thought just for a second here. But just know, price increase for 2022, just impacting these 6 core products, okay? So here are those items to note that I was talking about. The price increase will not impact licensing on current CSP subscriptions until your subscription renews on or after March 1st of 2022. And I'll show you some examples of what I mean by that in a few minutes. But if you have a CSP subscription right now for licenses, right, and that CSP subscription expires after March 1st, you won't experience the price increase until that subscription actually is up for renewal. And I'll show you some more in-depth examples of what I mean by that in a second, in case you're confused by what I said. Any new license orders placed after March 1st, all bets are off. It'll experience the price increase. So if you buy a bunch of Microsoft 365 E3 licenses on March 2nd, it's going to be the price that you know of today, plus the price increase that we just covered on the previous slide. Okay, so any new license orders placed after March 1st will experience the price increase. And again, I'll just repeat it one more time. These are the 6 core products that we're talking about, right? We're not talking about Project or Visio or anything like that. It's just these licenses that will experience the price increase. Okay, Jason, are you doing all right with the questions? And of course, buddy, if there's anything you want to add as we go along, feel free to go for it.
All right, yeah, no, we're good so far.
Okay, perfect, man. All right, so that's the price increase. Now, somebody asked earlier on what does CSP stand for, right? So it stands for Cloud Solutions Provider, and it is a licensing program for cloud services. And a lot of customers are using this today, especially customers that are on Office 365. These are services that can be provisioned and billed from Microsoft Direct or through a CSP, a cloud solutions provider. MicroAge is a cloud solutions provider, which means we bill you for the licenses, we support you for those licenses, right? Now, just know this. If you're a CSP customer today, whether you know it or not, it was provisioned as an annual subscription. Now, you could have paid for all those licenses up front, also known as annual prepay. There are some customers out there that bought licenses and just paid for everything up front, right? And they've got it for a year. Or it can be paid monthly. And this is really where the largest footprint of customers reside. They're paying monthly for their CSP licenses today, okay? But just know that even though you're doing that, behind the scenes is an annual subscription. You can see it in your admin center when you look under licensing and products that you own, things like that. Now, the cool thing about the legacy CSP program, right, the pricing program that you guys are all, that you know of today, it's extremely flexible, right? That's why everybody likes it. You can add or reduce license counts at any time. You can upgrade or downgrade products, switch plans anytime, cancel licenses and subscriptions at any time. There's caveats here, but this is really the kind of the high level of the flexibility of the program. You can also switch CSP providers at any time for those licenses. So the program that you all know of today, if you're paying monthly for Office 365 or modern workplace products, right, cloud services, this program is now being called Legacy CSP. So you're probably going to see this in articles and news feeds, and when you talk to people like us and stuff, the program that you're familiar with today is called Legacy CSP. Okay.
Can I add
Now,
one thing real quick there on the last
absolutely.
slide? So taking into account everybody or the majority of partners right now are on the legacy program. One thing to keep in mind is the legacy program is actually going to eventually weed out or come to an end. And that's really where we want to be as communicative as possible and just allowing everyone to know what is in the making. And even on those 6 core products, those are focused or targeted at the legacy program. And when you look at all of the products in the NCE, the new commerce experience, that's where you're going to see a 20% increase across the board on those programs. But there is ways with the promotions to prevent those, and we'll definitely get into more details, but wanted to throw that in there for you.
Yeah, and for sure. And I think a lot of customers out there are like, what? Because they see this 20% thing, right? And they're like, what is that? What does that mean? Does that mean all my licenses are going up 20%? Not necessarily. Let's do a little more diving here, and we'll actually decipher what that actually means. So the new commerce experience, this is the thing that's been floating around a lot. This is a pricing program change determined by how you provision and manage your licenses moving forward, right? So it's all determined by how you decide to move forward with provisioning and purchasing licenses, okay? And this is going to affect Office 365, Dynamics 365, Power Products, pretty much anything modern workplace is going to be impacted, okay? It's still CSP, right? You can still get it from a CSP provider, but the pricing program will be different from the legacy CSP program that we know of today. So I think a lot of people think that CSP is going away and there's an NCE and there's all these new acronyms. It's like, nope, it's still the Cloud Solutions Provider program. NCE is the concept for how you are going to provision those licenses and purchase those licenses moving forward, okay? So it's a how do I buy licenses, right? So here are the dates that we're going to be navigating in 2022. So the new official end date for placing new orders under the legacy CSP model, so the program we know of today, is actually March 10th of 2022. It was March 1st, now it's March 10th. I have no idea why they did it, but it's March 10th. So if you want to place a new order under the legacy CSP model, the program that you know of today, you've got until March 10th to do that, okay? Whether or not that's a good idea, we'll get to that in a few minutes. The new official end date for legacy CSP subscription renewals is now June 30th. It was originally March 1st, but they pushed it. So we've got until June 30th, right? So you guys out there that have CSP subscriptions renewals, CSP subscriptions, remember I told you whether you're paying monthly or not, it's an annual subscription, right? There is an annual subscription end date tied to those licenses that you're paying for today. June 30th is the magic date that we're going to be working around, okay? And we're going to dive into what I mean by that as we continue on. The new commerce experience changes will not impact licensing on current legacy CSP subscriptions until your subscription renews on or after June 30th of 2022. I guess that's basically what I'm saying. So if you've got a CSP subscription right now that's up for renewal after June 30th of 2022, you will have to consider, right, purchasing those licenses under something in the NCE program. We'll get to that in just a second here. So let's talk about the purchasing options, and that's really what this how do I buy under NCE, right? Let's talk about those options. So your first option is to pay month to month, okay? This is called premium, all right? Now, once you renew a subscription under NCE, it's an extremely flexible month-to-month program. This is where the 20% premium comes into play, the 20% uplift, okay? And this is across everything, off Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Power Products. This is not related to the price increase that we just talked about a few slides back, right? This, right, is a premium that you're paying, assuming you want to continue to pay on a really, really flexible month-to-month program under NCE. The subscription actually renews monthly, right? So there's no annual subscription behind the scenes. It's an actual month-to-month subscription, okay? So it's similar to the CSP experience that you have today with how it relates to how you can flex your license counts, you can change your CSP providers, you can cancel the subscription, and we'll talk about the cancellation policy here in a little bit. But if you like that flexibility, you can continue to do that with the month-to-month premium program. Just know that it's a 20% uplift in your license costs in order to continue with that, okay? Now let's hold on for a second because we're going to talk about these other options and then we'll get into how to navigate all of this stuff as well. So that's the first purchasing option for the new commerce experience. The second purchasing option under the new commerce experience is to actually commit to a true annual or multi-year agreement. It's a commitment, okay? So once you renew a subscription under NCE with annual or multi-year, the 20% uplift goes away, but they're going to put some guardrails around the flexibility of that annual commitment. You may not reduce license counts during the term of that commitment. So whatever it is that you commit to during that year or multi-year can't reduce. You may not switch CSP providers during the term of that commitment. So if you pick a provider for that term, right, the CSP provider that's supporting you and billing you is your provider, okay? And you may not cancel the subscription during the agreement. And again, I've got an asterisk there because we're going to talk a little bit about the cancellation policies here in a short minute. You can still add licenses to it. It'll prorate right in, right, to your subscription end date. And you can upgrade your plan or license, but you can't downgrade. Okay, so if you wanted to go from Project Plan 1 to Project Plan 3, you know, totally fine to do. Project Plan 3 back down to 1, can't do it. Okay, so as you can see, it's a little more restrictive than what it was with the legacy CSP program that we know of today, right? But it's a true annual commitment or multi-year, and that's how you avoid the 20% uplift. Now you can pay that commitment all up front or you can make monthly payments. Just know that if you're gonna make that annual or multi-year commitment, right, to avoid the 20%, you cannot exit the agreement unless you pay the balance owed. So if you're paying monthly on that balance owed, you'll have to pay the remaining balance on whatever remains on that agreement, okay? And we'll talk about promotions and things like that, you know, for early adoption around the program here as we go along. But the two pricing programs we just covered, right? One, the premium, if a true monthly subscription, month to month, that's where you experience the 20% uplift for those licenses, or an annual or multi-year commitment, which is a fixed committed term. And again, as you can see, they're putting some guardrails around the flexibility of that program, right? But you can avoid that 20% uplift by doing so. Here's some other items to note. You may still be subject to the price increase for those 6 core plans. So remember, like 10 minutes ago when we talked about those 6 plans that are experiencing the price increase on March 1st, okay? So that's in addition to the pricing program changes, right? So again, these are 2 different things that we've been talking about, not the same. So something to think about there. If you've got license plans that are going to experience the price increase, and you just continue to take those license plans like under the month-to-month premium plan with the 20% uplift, it's the price increase for that specific plan plus 20%. Okay, so you know, if you do the math a little bit there, right, that's really where the numbers start to go up a little bit. As far as cancellation is concerned, after a license is provisioned, you have 72 hours to cancel it. That's it. You get 72 hours. After that, you will be billed for what is owed based on how the license was purchased under NCE. So if you're doing the month-to-month premium and you buy a license and the 72 hours lapse, you're getting billed for that month, no cancellations whatsoever. If it's an annual or multi-year agreement and that 72 hours lapse for that license that you provision, it's in the agreement, right? No way to cancel it or have that license removed. So here's the end date that Jason was talking about. If you're a legacy CSP customer today, you must be fully transitioned by the new commerce experience by the end of February 2023. So we basically have all of 2022 to navigate this thing, right? And there's some options that we're going to talk about here in a minute. But in February of 2023, it's done. Legacy CSP is gone, and everybody is in the new commerce experience in some way, shape, or form. Okay. But like I said a few minutes ago, in January of 2022, there will be promotions extended to customers for early adoption in the new commerce experience program. We're going to talk about that here in a second. Jason, are we doing okay on questions, or do you have anything you want to add, sir?
All good.
Perfecto. Okay, so let's talk about early adoption in the new commerce experience. There's actually 2 time-bound early adoption promotions that are coming, and this is starting in January of 2022. We already know what they are, we just can't implement them, right, until January, February timeframe. So if you are a CSP customer today and you've got a subscription and you want to become an early adopter of the new commerce experience, it's kind of a good idea in that if you commit to an annual term, you're going to get an additional 5% discount for the CSP price list amount. Okay, so if you got X amount of licenses, you want to early adopt them, it's those licenses minus 5%. Okay, so that's pretty good. You're going to get a discount on those licenses if you commit to NCE early, right? Become an early adopter under an annual term. The promotional pricing will be in effect through March. Okay, so we've got January, February to actually early adopt this stuff. But Microsoft did throw this little clause in here. They do reserve the right to extend the annual term promotional pricing up to and including June. So they're kind of keeping that in their pocket, right? If they want to extend this early adoption program through June, they might do it. But we're not entirely sure if they're going to do it or not yet. What we know right now today is that it's January, February of 2022 that we're going to be very, very busy helping customers consider early adoption into the NCE program to get that additional 5% on an annual committed term. Now, the monthly term promo for premium, right? That's the one where it's a true month-to-month subscription. It applies the regular annual term price instead of the usual 20% higher price point. So a lot of people are like, okay, cool. If I early adopt the month-to-month thing, right? Then I save the 20%. You do, but not forever. Okay. Remember this, the monthly term promotional pricing will be in effect through June. That means on July 1, if you're an early adopter for that month-to-month subscription thing, the premium, the pricing is going to go up 20% on July 1 on your billing, right? The promotion only is good through June. Okay, so something to think about there. It's not forever, it's just through June. And then subscriptions ordered during the promo period will renew after June 30th at the price in effect. So this is basically the bigger wording of what I just walked you through. So again, on July 1st, if you're an early adopter for the month-to-month premium program, on July 1st, 20% uplift to any pricing, to any licenses that you have on the premium program under NCE. Jason, any questions or anything to add? There's a lot of material on this slide, so I just want to make sure we're okay to continue.
Oh, we're all good right now on the questions.
Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about ABC code now. So let's navigate this a little bit with a couple of examples. Okay. So here's ABC code. They've got some licenses here. Okay. And I've detailed it out. Here's their license type, their license quantity. They're obviously paying monthly, even though there's an annual subscription behind it. Here's what I'm talking about, guys. So this customer provisioned these licenses on these specific dates. The subscription actually started the first of the following month. And then the subscription end date's 1 year is 1 year after that, right? So even though they're being billed monthly by MicroAge, right? Subscription end date is still a year out from the time the subscription started. Okay, so there it is, all laid out. Subscription end date is coming up. And they bought these licenses at 2 different times. You can see they bought their premium licenses on March 31st, right? Or they bought their premium licenses in March, and then they bought their Project Visio and Microsoft 365 E3 at a later date in June, but their subscription end date is different than that of the business premium. And this is very, very common, right? Of course, we run into clients all the time that they're adding licenses and adding new products as they go along. So there's variance in the subscription start dates and end dates around all these products. Very, very common, okay? So let's just talk about the price increase for ABC Co. So forget about new commerce experience. Let's just pretend that's not there for the moment. So the business premium licenses, right? It will renew under legacy CSP, but it will experience the $2 price increase effective after March 1st of 2022. So what I mean by that, right? Remember, new commerce experience is not officially in effect, right? They don't have to make any decisions around that until end of June. So the only thing they're subject to on April 1st of 2022 is that March 1st price increase. It's a $2 price increase for that business premium license. So that's the only thing they're going to experience if they just maintain status quo right now. Don't make any other changes, anything like that. Okay. Project and Visio are not affected because, again, it's not any of those 6 plans that we talked about that will be impacted by the price increase, right? They're not part of that. And then the Microsoft 365 E3 will experience the $4 price increase on July 1st of 2022. It will also experience some other stuff, right? But just, again, this slide, as it relates to the price increase, this is what we're looking at, right? So it's all based off of the subscription end date of those plans. Now let's dig a little deeper here. Now let's talk about ABC Co. as it relates to the new commerce experience, okay? So the business premium licenses, they're going to renew under legacy CSP. They'll experience the $2 price increase effective March 1st, but it's not going to be subject to the pricing program changes until after February 28th of 2023. Why is that? Well, because the subscription start date will be on April 1st, and it'll be under legacy CSP. So if the customer, if ABC Co decides not to do any early adoption, they just keep everything as it is on April 1st, because it's prior to June 30th, it'll just renew under legacy CSP. It's just going to happen, right? And the price increase will kick in, right? And remember, we just said that everybody has to be off of legacy CSP in February of 2023. So they're automatically going to get transitioned to NCE in February of 2023. Now the Microsoft 365 E3 licenses will experience the $4 increase on July 1st. They will also be subject to the pricing program changes taking effect after June 30th. So NCE also kicks in for these Microsoft 365 E3 licenses because their subscription end date is June 30th. The start of NCE is on July 1st. The subscription will renew on July 1st. So NCE, they'll have to make a decision around how they want to buy those licenses under the new commerce experience. Project Visio and Microsoft 365 E3 will actually all be subject to the NCE program changes effective after June 30th. Because again, Project Plan 3, Visio Plan 2, they're also up on June 30th, right? So it's all going to hit at the same time for those 3 products. So this is really where early adoption can benefit, and I'm going to run a couple of scenarios through here. So let's just talk about business premium specifically, okay? Now, if they renew under legacy CSP, right, and they would be subject to the $2 price increase, and that's it, right? But if they early adopt the NCE premium, let's just say I want to early adopt premium, right? They can do that and avoid the 20% uplift, but then on July 1st, they're going to have to decide what to do next. Do they continue paying the 20% for that business premium license, or do they get into an annual commitment under NCE, whatever they want to do? But if they early adopt new commerce experience with an annual commitment, business premium, right? We're just talking about the business premium licenses. They can avoid that $2 price increase coming in March. They can avoid the 20% premium, and they would receive a 5% discount for the term. Okay, so that's really what the early adoption promotion is about. Can you consider, right, getting into the NCE program early, avoiding the price increase for certain products, avoiding the 20% premium for the month-to-month thing, and then getting a 5% discount for the annual commitment. All right, that's really the in essence what they're trying to get you to consider through early adoption, additional discounting and avoiding all these other price changes. Here's another scenario to consider. Now we're just going to talk about these three guys right here. Project Plan 3, Visio Plan 2, Microsoft 365 E3, right? Now they can early adopt the premium without the 20% uplift until July of 2022 and decide what to do next. So if January rolls around and they say, let's early adopt new commerce experience, I just want to keep doing this month to month, the true monthly subscription thing under premium, there's no 20% uplift until July 1. Boom, it kicks in. Okay. Now, if they early adopt new commerce experience with the annual commitment, then they avoid the $4 price increase for E3. They avoid the 20% premium for everything, and then they receive a 5% discount for the term. So we're just talking about these three products as well. So very, very similar to that of Business Premium. And what we're recommending as a best practice, right? Instead of treating this as a separate subscription and this as a separate subscription, if you're interested in early adoption, then we recommend that you collapse those subscriptions into a single subscription, right? Early adopt it, collapse all current subscriptions into one annual commitment all up front, or you can pay monthly, avoid the price increases, avoid the 20% premium, and receive a 5% discount across the board for the term. Okay, so even though there's two different subscriptions that we're dealing with here, if you decide to become an early adopter, it might make sense to just collapse it all into one early adoption subscription and then avoid all these upcoming changes and save an additional 5%. Jason, you doing all right there? You got anything to add?
I have quite a few questions. The first one, which you can probably answer, is several people are looking for the slide deck for the presentation, asking if you're going to make that available.
I'm a little apprehensive about the slide deck because things are going to be changing, right? What I would suggest is we'll get you a copy of the recording of the video, 100% for sure, and that you continue to stay in touch with us, because as these pricing programs are updated, which it could very well be, like I said, you know, Microsoft is reserving the right to extend the date on one of those programs we just covered to June of 2022. We want to make sure that you have the most up-to-date information rather than just a stale slide deck. Hope that answers.
The second question I can reiterate for Kevin is in regards to the price increases and where those are coming from, is the difference between the legacy program, what essentially the majority of customers are currently on, versus the new commerce experience. So the legacy program will be having that 20% increase on those 6 core products, whereas the new commerce experience, once moving over to that program, you're going to see almost a 20% increase across the board, unless you do the early commitment and are able to start with the promotions that become available on January 1st.
Exactly, and the thing we tried to stress at the beginning of this presentation is that there's two different things that are happening, and it is causing some confusion because they both involve pricing. But there's a price increase coming for certain products, and then there's the pricing program change that will affect all products, right? And that's really why we're thinking early adoption is probably something you should consider, right? It is a little bit more restrictive in terms of the flexibility of the program, but you do avoid these price increases and the 20% uplift on the month-to-month premium, and then you also get an additional 5%, through the term of that agreement as a discount, right? So here are some action items, and then we're going to dive into a couple of other things that we're hoping to cover today. Obviously, take the time to learn about these changes with your Microsoft provider. If you've got a MicroAge account executive, they're probably going to reach out to you and say, hey, did you attend the event? Or if you want to proactively reach out to us, we're happy to talk to you about this one-on-one, and we can look at your license plan specifically, right? And sort of spend more time educating you on this program. Understanding your current subscription end dates is key, right? This is step one into navigating all of this in 2022. So getting into your admin center and really understanding when all of these subscriptions that you manage are up for renewal, right? That helps us determine plan of action for sure. Obviously, developing a strategy for navigating these changes. We're happy to talk to you about that, and to consider the early adoption promotions for NCE, right? We're happy to talk to you one-on-one so that we can run some scenarios with you. All of this stuff can be leveraged starting on January 1st. Jason and I are going to be very busy transacting a lot of these early adoption programs with our pre-sales team, right? We're going to be very busy with this, but we're still very happy to talk to you about your options here and considering the early adoption promotion. And if there are any customers out there that are EA customers, you may not have noticed, like, let's call it the past 18 to 24 months, Microsoft has made changes around the enterprise agreement program. And it's very important, I think, in 2022 as we go on here, that if you're an EA customer and you have a renewal up in 2022, that you consider the NCE program as an option as opposed to renewing the enterprise agreement. Something very important to think about. You can also leverage the CSP, right? The new commerce experience with a CSP provider in addition to your enterprise agreement. So if there are other products, other cloud services, excuse me, that you want to leverage, but not through your enterprise agreement, it's very simple for you to work with a CSP provider in order to have those products provisioned and supported. Okay, so let's take a deep breath here. Let's shake it off a little bit. So we just covered pricing programs and new commerce experience, okay? And again, we're more than happy to talk more about this with you one-on-one. Afterwards, we will get you a copy of this recording so that you can review it, and we gave you some action items there to review. I want to talk about Microsoft Teams and Defender a little bit today also, because there have been some recent announcements around Teams and Defender, and depending on who you are and how you're leveraging these products, it could have an impact on you. So let's start with Teams. So if you're a Microsoft customer, you might have just clicked and got the Teams exploratory license a ways back, right? And this was a free trial license that could be leveraged for up to 300 users. We've got a lot of customers that are using it. It could be used for users with Office 365 plans that didn't include Microsoft Teams. So if you got users with Exchange Online Plan 1, or something like that, you just wanted to give them Teams, the exploratory license was a really, really good option, right, to assign to them because it was free and it was for a pretty long period of time. And it was basically Microsoft's way of allowing you to leverage a trial of Teams for Teams adoption. Okay, so the exploratory license is out there. You can actually go into your Office 365 Admin Center under licensing, right, under billing and under licensing, and see if whether or not you have the exploratory license, how many you have, and if you have them assigned to anybody, you can see it all in there. Okay, we can help you navigate that if you want to discuss. Just know that the trials are now expiring, right? We're starting to see some activity around that this month, and we're going to see more of it going into Q1, Q2 of next year, right? So your options are that you can extend it one time for 30 days. So if you see it in there, you're going to see a little thing that you can click on to extend the Teams exploratory license. You get another 30 days out of it, and that's it. You're done. Your other option is to just let it expire and not continue with Teams for those licensed users that you had with the exploratory license. You can do that. Or you can upgrade your users to an Office 365 plan that includes Teams, right? Those were your options up to this point. But on December 1st, Microsoft released the Teams Essentials license, okay? Just try to think of it as a Teams only license. And this is available for up to 300 users. So Teams only. If you just want to give Teams to a user for whatever the use case, and there's a few listed here, you can do that now, okay? Maybe you've got some users that are still using Office Pro Plus and you want to give Teams to them. Teams Essentials is great for that. Maybe you've got some frontline workers out there that don't really require Office 365 or Microsoft 365, but you want them to collaborate, right? You can give them the Teams Essentials license. Maybe you've got some non-Microsoft productivity software in your environment, G Suite, Workspace. Obviously those are kind of big out there, and you need to consider Microsoft Teams for business-to-business collaboration, right? You can give them the Teams Essentials license. You can assign that to them. Maybe your business just prefers it for internal use. There's a lot of different use cases out there for why this might be a good fit. Just know that there is now a Teams-only license that you can provision and purchase for up to 300 users. So here's some details on it. It runs $4 per user per month. No voice products are included. Does not come with any Teams voice products. Those are still separate line items, right? You get access to web versions of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You do not get all of the web apps with Teams, okay? No productivity software included. You just get access to the web versions of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You do get 10 gig of cloud storage. As opposed to getting an Office 365 plan that comes with Teams, you get a terabyte, right? And you know, you just way more storage, right? So it is limited as far as cloud storage is concerned. And if you want to build some security and compliance policies and rules around your Teams user that has that license assigned, you'll still need to leverage security and compliance products. You'll still need Azure AD P1. You'll still need Azure Information Protection. If you want to build cloud app security policies around Teams, you'll need Azure AD P2, right? So there are still some things you need to think about from a security and compliance perspective. But if you just want Teams only for your users for collaboration, then Teams Essentials, way to go. Jason, anything to add?
Rick, one comment came up regarding the new commerce experience and who that affects. And right now, the new commerce experience is not going to affect any nonprofits, educational, and government clients. So keeping that in mind, because that question did come up in the chat.
Yeah, but stay tuned for that, of course, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure it'll flow eventually over to nonprofit and governments, but we'll definitely be ahead of that curve when that announcement is made. But as of now, it's not affected.
Right, for sure. Okay. No, good question. All right, we're going to talk about one of the things that, as it relates to Teams, as far as Teams voice is concerned. The phone system license, remember that $8 license that you can buy to get your Cloud PBX set up, and your calling plan is going to be bundled starting in January of 2022. So they're putting those two products together. If you're a customer out there and you're leveraging the business voice bundle, so that's the bundle that is for less than 300 users, you get a calling plan, you get audio conferencing, you get the phone system license all in one, right? And collectively it's cheaper than buying them all like individually, right? That's getting phased out on February 28th of 2022. But if you own Business Voice, your subscription is intact until it expires. So that doesn't mean on February 28th they're shutting it all off or anything like that. If you've got a subscription for Business Voice and it runs deep into 2022, you're fine, right? But when that subscription is up for renewal, you got to make some decisions around how you want to give voice to those licensed users, okay? Now here's the cool thing that I think is that we're pulling out about this. The audio conferencing license. So that $4 per user per month license, that's basically what allows your meeting organizers to be able to have attendees dial into the meeting rather than join the meeting over the internet, right? Pretty valuable license. A lot of businesses use it. It's going to be bundled with Microsoft 365 plans and Office 365 plans starting in March of 2022. Now that's good, right? Now, this is probably one of the contributors to the price increase that we talked about for some of those 6 core plans, because they're baking the audio conferencing license in there. But just know that this is going to be like any user that's licensed now for Microsoft 365 or Office 365 products in your environment, they'll get audio conferencing, which is kind of nice. Strategically, you guys want to think about considering if you have audio conferencing licenses provisioned, right? Navigating that, when to deprovision and shut down those licenses once you know that this new policy is kicking in, right? And then also considering if you do decide to early adopt licenses under new commerce experience, then maybe you don't annually commit to those audio conferencing licenses, because you're going to want the flexibility to cancel those licenses once this new thing for audio conferencing kicks in March, right? And we can help you navigate that, right? So again, early adoption for NCE in January, February, probably a good idea to leave audio conferencing, off the list, right? So that you have the flexibility to cancel that once this new product kicks in and it's bundled with Office 365 and Microsoft 365. Jason, anything to add?
Oh, that was perfect. I think a lot of people are very happy about that being bundled in and not a separate license moving forward for the audio conferencing.
Yes, sir. I agree. Okay, now we're going to talk about Defender. A couple other announcements around Defender. First off, at Ignite, Microsoft announced Defender for Business. Okay, so if you're familiar with Defender, you know that there's Defender for Endpoint, which is Microsoft's endpoint security product. Jason's the guy here for if you want to have a technical deep dive around any of that stuff. Jason's your guy. We're probably not going to get into that today, but if you want to just discuss it in a conversation with our team, we're happy to go through it. But Microsoft announced Defender for Business license. It's set to be bundled in the Microsoft 365 Business Premium plan starting sometime in 2022. We don't have an official start date yet, but this is really cool. If you're leveraging Business Premium right now, you get a ton of stuff already. You get Defender for Office 365, which is the email security product. You get Azure Active Directory, right? So all your conditional access policies, things like that, you've got that at your disposal. Azure Information Protection, Microsoft Endpoint Manager, formerly known as Intune. You get Windows 10. You get all this stuff like cooked into this plan. Now they're going to put Business Premium in there. All right. They're going to put Defender for Business in there. Okay. So you're going to get endpoint security products also built into the Business Premium plan. You'll also be able to purchase it standalone for $3 per user per month. Okay. So pretty cost effective. Let's talk about some of the differences here. So the P2 plan that you see on this list here, that's the rename for the Defender for Endpoint product that you know of today. So if you're using Defender for Endpoint right now, you're getting all this stuff on the right-hand side that's highlighted in red. It's just going to be called P2, Plan 2, right? Going into 2022 once these products change. There's going to be a P1 license now, which is a really, really, really light version of Defender for Endpoint, right? But the Defender for Business product is kind of the right down the middle product that we're probably going to see a lot of activity around because it includes EDR, right? Endpoint detection and response. So again, if you've got any third-party products that you're using for endpoint protection, you want to consider like offsetting that cost and getting the Business Premium license, or you already have the Business Premium license. Just know that coming down the road here, you're going to get Defender for Business with that Business Premium plan. And if you've got an endpoint protection product outside of that, I mean, that cost can be alleviated, assuming you like the benefits of that Defender for Business product. Jason, you got anything you want to add?
I would stipulate too, there is a really big difference between the full-blown Defender for Endpoint, the Plan 2, versus the business. The business one is really more a taste of the flavor of what Microsoft can involve, and there is a deeper conversation. There's, it's undeniable that Microsoft gets more signals from incidents and alerts than any other product out there. And they've devoted a lot, an exponential amount of money, billions, into really creating and having more of a security approach. But the managed threat response that you get from Plan 2 and that threat experts is very analytical, along with the sandbox for really a higher level of support when it comes for antivirus protection and being able to have more of an automated response and remediation when it comes to the Plan 2.
I'm writing up a response here, Jason. Keep talking. No.
I could go on.
Yeah, I'll just answer Jerry's question instead of typing it out here. Defender for Endpoint that we know of today is included in any E5 plan. It's not included in any of these other plans. Defender for Business, right, the new product announced at Ignite, will only be included in the the Microsoft 365 Business Premium plan, and that's slated to come sometime in 2022. We don't have an official start date for it yet, but the full-blown Defender for Endpoint, the one that Jason was just talking about, where you get everything in the kitchen sink, right? That's included in E5 plans and can be purchased standalone today. I think it's $5.20 per user per month. Defender for Business is going to be a different flavor of this thing, right? Will be included in the Business Premium plan and set to come out sometime in 2022. Hope that answers your question, Jerry.
Thank you for the clarification. I meant to say the difference between the Plan 1, which is a new Defender for Endpoint, versus the Business and Plan 2. Obviously, the Business Premium gives you the most value, but if you do want the threat intelligence, that's really where the Defender for Plan 2 differentiates from the business and even the P1 license.
Gotcha. Cool. Okay. This one's always fun. Defender, there's like 10 different products out there named Defender today, right? And we call it the Microsoft Defender family or suite. And there can be a lot of confusion around out there with clients because when they say I need Defender, well, which one, and then we have to sort of dig in and find out which specifically. Up until recently, this was the Defender lineup, right? And they renamed this off of a lot of different product names. But there's Defender for Endpoint, Defender for Office 365, Defender for Identity. There's Azure Defender, and there's a few different flavors. At Ignite, Microsoft recently announced some naming convention changes around this. Obviously, we've got Defender for Endpoint P1, P2, and Defender for Business. Okay, those are all the endpoint security products. There's Defender for Office 365. Now there's 2 different plans for that. And then Microsoft Defender for Identity. There's Microsoft Defender for Cloud, previously known as Azure Defender. There's Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps, previously known as Cloud App Security, right? The CASB product from Microsoft, now called Defender for Cloud Apps. And then there's Defender for IoT and Azure Defender for SQL. I'm not expecting you to, learn all this stuff here today, but just know there have been some naming convention changes. And if you're at all confused by this, let's just sit down and meet and talk about it and understand what you can leverage out of each of these products and then take it from there, okay? But there is a huge family of Defender products, and we don't expect you to try and figure this thing out on your own. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. One other notable change, right? Little cherry on top is Azure Sentinel is now called Microsoft Sentinel. So if you're doing any Google searches or trying to understand, Sentinel, just know that's the new naming convention change, and we're obviously happy to talk to you about your Sentinel deployment as well. So I guess final action items or final thoughts for me, and Jason, I'll let you have closing arguments too. I really suggest you don't do this alone. I mean, just feel free to reach out to us. We're talking about this stuff all the time. We're here to help. We have a ton of information on microage.com now. Okay. We've got vlogs out there. We got blogs, and Jason just recently did an article on Windows 365 and the benefits of Windows 365. We've got a dev tenant set up with Windows 365. So if you got some curiosity around that, we're happy to talk you through that as well. Jason, anything you want to close with, bud?
Yeah, as Rick mentioned at the start, I mean, we live in this, and we're working on staying ahead of the curve and providing as much information and details as we have as they do arise. I think the most important thing is to really take into consideration for next year. I always look at it as that roadmap or journey that's Microsoft in general, and what you can accomplish by moving into different licensing plans, and also taking into consideration not all of your users probably need the same plan either. So it helps to mix and match. And we're always involved with the license optimization conversations, trying to foresee what you're looking to do and then how we get you there. So keeping that in mind, and then Azure, if you're not taking advantage of the capabilities of Azure and how that can provide additional efficiencies, definitely have that conversation. We're glad to be with you as that partner and get you to the next step in unlocking those features and benefits.
Awesome. Jason, as always, thank you very much. We want to thank all of you for the great turnout that we had today around this. And you will be hearing from your account executive. If don't wait to hear from them. Obviously, if you want to reach out to us right away, we're all ears for having a conversation around this stuff and helping you navigate 2022. But until then, we really appreciate the time today, and we hope you all take really good care.
Yeah, everybody.